Let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking a text that is, quite frankly, a wild intellectual ride. It boldly takes the highly technical language of quantum physics, words like observation and entanglement, and smashes it together with ancient biblical allegory. The whole framework is called The Quantum Mechanics of Love and Conscious Choice. We're going to look at how this author uses these concepts to explain human consciousness, morality, and even free will itself. Honestly, have you ever felt like you're just acting out a pre-written script? Well, this text attempts to explain exactly why that is. So let's get into it.
Right out of the gate, the source material completely flips the script on what we conventionally know about these foundational archetypes. It wastes absolutely zero time telling us that Adam and Eve, they aren't literal historical people here. Instead, they're profound metaphors for the mechanics of human consciousness. The text specifically defines Eve as the feminine part of consciousness that serves as an attraction.
Which brings us to Section 1, the Quantum Atom, redefining archetypes. According to the text, Adam's consciousness is constantly pulling elements toward itself. So Eve is defined as an image or a personality that Adam attracts. It's kind of like forming an idealized version of a partner in your head, stitched together from everyone you've ever fallen in love with. It's this continuous magnetic pull. Adam is attracting the perfect conceptual Eve. So we're talking about an ongoing psychological process of attraction here, not some one-time historical event.
But to engage with this attraction cleanly, Adam has to do something pretty radical. The text states he needs a resurrection of soul forces to completely erase his past subconscious memory. It literally declares the past is dead. Put simply, it's like doing a hard factory reset on your brain. You see, bringing old emotional baggage into the present reality completely disrupts the quantum equation. Adam absolutely must resurrect his soul's authority to wipe the slate clean and exist purely in the present moment.
Let's see how this sets up the text's incredibly unique definition of wrongdoing in Section 2, The Mechanics of Sin, Quantum Moral Failures.
This part brilliantly shows just how far this material diverges from traditional theology. Sin is described here as imperfect dreams lacking love. Think about a quantum physics lab, right? Just observing a particle changes its state. Well, in this framework, when an observer looks at an imperfect, loveless dream, it causes that dream to collapse. It results in suffering and simply cannot sustain itself in the universe. So sin isn't just a traditional moral failing, it's a literal structural failure in the quantum universe of consciousness.
Now, the text acknowledges that this concept of sin is a lot to wrap your head around, but it gives us a countermeasure. When a desire becomes a righteous attraction, it actually demands a divine blessing. Without that blessing of love, the dream remains imperfect, the observer collapses it, and bam, suffering begins. The equation literally has to be balanced with love for consciousness to achieve its goals and survive the quantum universe.
And if dreams without love cause a collapse into suffering, we need to look at Section 3, the game of suffering, negative feedback loops.
In this quantum psychological space, the text introduces envy observers. These are observers actively hunting for faults and mistakes to punish. And here is where the archetype of Satan comes in. The text describes Satan as a manipulator of these faults, an entity that entirely fails to see the bright picture of life. When faults exist in this bounded system and are observed by envy, it creates a literal game of suffering and death. It's a highly systemic, almost algorithmic way to look at spiritual warfare. Within this bounded game, human consciousness is forced into a stark, binary choice. On one side, you have the choice of attraction and love, which sustains the universe and brings that divine blessing. On the other side, the choice of hatred and envy. Choosing this invites the envy observers, triggers the Satan archetype, and initiates that collapse into suffering and death. The stakes in this quantum game are absolute, no gray area.
This brings us to the core conflict of the whole framework. In Section 4, Zero Observation, Finding True Freedom. The text outlines a pretty chilling scenario. Imagine a behaviorist programming a child from birth to death with good and evil thoughts. The real tragedy here is that the child is completely unaware they're running on a script. They genuinely think their thoughts are their own. According to the text, the only way out relies on an intelligent spirit guiding the soul away from all this observation, relying purely on conscious choice.
The ultimate takeaway from this section is this fascinating metaphysical concept. When observation is zero, there is freedom of choice. Think about the famous quantum double-slit experiment. An unobserved particle exists in a state of pure potential, right? Infinite possibilities. The text applies that exact logic to the human mind. It's like finally unplugging from all of society's expectations and judgments. When external observation drops to absolute zero, you are finally free to choose your own reality.
If our lives really are programmed by outside forces, we inevitably arrive at Section 5. Who writes the script? The ultimate dilemma.
The author poses a question that really messes with how we understand free will. If there are n observers playing a script and one accepts the script and dies, whose fault? If you're just running code implanted in you by a behaviorist or just reacting to the judgments of n observers, are you truly responsible for your own downfall? It's a massive dilemma. Are we the authors of our own lives or just actors playing out somebody else's script?
Let's weigh the two potential realities presented here. Causality A asks, is life just random choices? Are we nothing but bioreceivers for good and evil instructions being projected into our minds by an observer? Or there's causality B, is life actually a quantum playback of a script already written by God? It's a staggering concept, the idea that our lives might just be a movie playing backwards so we can understand an ending that has already happened, especially since a departing consciousness can't explain its own death. Let's move to the final synthesis of the text in Section 6, Avoiding Entanglement, Adam's Survival. We circle back to Adam and Eve now. As Adam thinks about his own downfall, he tries to attract Eve, but Eve never actually appears in his universe. Instead, Eve represents a quantum mechanical game of love and envy. She exists as this volatile potential, a pole that can lead to either that righteous, love-blessed attraction or completely drag Adam down into the destructive forces of envy and judgment.
To avoid literal death, Adam has to take extreme measures. The text says he must immerse himself in the Word of God to intentionally avoid entanglement with Eve. Now, if you know quantum physics, entanglement means two particles become inextricably linked. If Adam's consciousness links up improperly with this game of envy, it results in his downfall. And in this strict framework, the downfall is suffering, and suffering is unequivocally death. He literally has to separate his consciousness from the game entirely.
This whole explainer covers a really heavy, intricate philosophical framework, so I'll leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. Can we actually reach zero observation to find true freedom? Are we permanently bound by the projected scripts of unseen observers, or do we have the soul force to step out of the spotlight and choose our own reality? Unlocking that is the key to this entire metaphysical puzzle. Keep questioning, keep learning, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.